Photographer one wants to turn their portrait or fashion photography into a full-time career. But if they're being honest with themselves, they don't want to make money doing boring corporate shoots, doing business headshots for LinkedIn profiles, etc. But they know that's where the money is at. They've heard online that this is the only way you're going to be able to make serious money from your photography. And it's the more realistic option. But then they go on Instagram and they see these big fashion photographers creating amazing pieces of art. It's creative, it's stylized, and it seems to make them a shit ton of money because they're working for brands like Vogue, Nike, etc. They say to themselves, I would love to do this, but I could never get there. Working with a big brand and doing something super creative is impossible, let alone working for the likes of Vogue. Photographer 2, on the other hand, they're also in the same position as photographer 1, but when they see these photographers online shooting for these big brands like Vogue, Nike, etc., they get excited, not discouraged. Specifically excited about what their future has for them. They will follow the action steps that I will give you in this video, allowing to turn your dream into a reality. Making money with your creative photography. And just like me and other people on my program that are booking paid shoots with clothing brands and different companies alike, that are open to our style and unique messaging, making money doing what we love. Step 1, be creative from the start. Okay, so let's give you an analogy to help you understand this further. So let's say there's 2 restaurants. They're starting up in January 2026, and by the end of the year, they're both doing fine dining. But only one of the restaurants comes out successful and the other one doesn't really make any progress. And why is that? Well, the unsuccessful restaurant, they didn't start off by doing fine dining. They actually started off by doing fast food. They were doing fries, burgers, pizza, chicken, maybe even going off into different cultures like Indian food, Chinese food. They've always wanted to do fine dining from the very beginning, but they thought they should go into something like fast food and burgers and fries to appeal to a wider audience. And initially, it does actually work. They make way more money than the second restaurant who were successful by the end of the year, but they eventually make that transition into fine dining because they're kind of finding the chicken and the burgers kind of boring. They have no passion for it and they really want to get into fine dining. So 6 months in, they stop all burger production. They stop doing the chicken, the burger, the pizza, the Indian food, the whatever it is, the Chinese food, and they finally transition into fine dining like they've always wanted to do. But unfortunately, they don't get the reaction they were expecting from their current customer base. They built up that customer base of people that love fast food, chicken, burgers, whatever. So when they transition into fine dining, most, if not all of their current customer base just stopped going and stopped visiting because now they are not doing that at all. Now they're doing the fine dining, they're doing the really fancy cuisines. So by the end of the year, they haven't really made much progress because they essentially started all over again 6 months in when they decided to change to fine dining. You have to account too the obvious brand change now because they were initially appealing to burgers, fries, chicken people. Now they have to try appeal to fine dining people, higher class people, which can take a lot of money and time and effort because now you have to train the chefs to make fine dining. You have to change up the brand and make it look more luxury and high end. And it's just a massive hassle. And yeah, by the end of the year, they haven't really made much progress because they always had that reputation as being a fast food restaurant. But the successful restaurant, on the other hand, let's say restaurant 2, the reason why they were successful by the end of the year, made a shit ton of money from fine dining, is because they started by doing fine dining in the first place. They didn't have to worry about making that transition from fast food to fine dining. They would instantly, from ground level 0, start by becoming a fine dining restaurant, building up that reputation as a fine dining restaurant. Maybe initially in the first couple of months, they probably didn't get much business because it is a very niche, cuisine and sort of eating. Not a lot of people can afford fine dining and would want to and appeal to fine dining, but they stick to it, become consistent, and by the end of it, they've built up that reputation as a fine dining restaurant. They've also gotten to master the fine dining too. So obviously now, because they've been doing it for a year, they've mastered the service, they've mastered actually the cuisines itself, the ingredients, making it taste better. And overall, when they do eventually build up that customer base, it's much more higher paying, it's much more specialist and niche to that audience, and they make way more money. And it's the exact same thing with your photography. Don't think that, oh, you always wanted to be creative and editorial from the start, but you thought about, actually, I'll start by doing some more commercial stuff, some more corporate headshot stuff to make some money, build up a client base, and then I'll transition into being creative. Like the restaurant, that is not going to work. You're not going to be able to do a bunch of fast food and burgers and fries and then make that transition into doing fine dining. You have to do fine dining from the very beginning. Being a creative photographer from the very beginning, because then you can build up their reputation as a creative photographer. You build up a client base of people that are open to your creative style, just like me and other people on my program, like I mentioned earlier. You can click in the top link below if you want to check it out. We consistently stayed creative from the very beginning, and when you are creative at the very beginning, be open to making mistakes. Like, you're not going to just land your next job, because again, being creative, like fine dining, is a much more niche thing. It isn't just a thing that everyone wants. So maybe in the initial stages, as you're building up your portfolio, not everyone is going to want to hire you. You won't going to get that many bookings, but if you stick at it and you master it and you become really good at it, and you actually learn about how you find your style, how can you be technically a good photographer too in that creative niche, you will eventually make a shit ton of money doing the jobs that you genuinely enjoy doing. You're essentially chasing the long-term goal rather than that short-term thrill of, oh, if I do corporate stuff right now, I can make a couple of $1,000s in the next like 6 months to a year, and then I'll make the creative photography. No. Stay being creative from the very beginning. Build up that reputation, build up that portfolio, build up those skills and that network too, and even a client base that are open to that creativity, then go from there. Because if you do start by doing corporate and commercialized stuff, you're going to build up a client base, and when you transition into the creative stuff, that client base that you initially built up won't even want to hire you again. Or if they do hire you again, they won't hire you for the creative stuff, they'll just hire you for the commercial stuff. So it's like, you're not gonna like somehow turn those clients into people that are open to your creativity. It's not gonna work like that. Like me, for example, I've been doing portrait photography and I've been trying to be creative as possible from the very beginning for about 3 years now. I've been doing this for like 3 years, and only really in the last year have I actually become very profitable and I've been able to land regular clients. And that's not saying that you will take 2 years or a couple of years to start by making money, because there was a lot of issues with my portfolio. I was doing event stuff, I was trying to market myself as a wedding photographer and a portrait photographer. I was all over the place, and that's why I kind of started this channel, so you don't do the same mistake. But now, because I built up that experience being a creative photographer, I'm at that point where my portfolio is what it is right now. I land clients that are open to my creativity. I do jobs where I genuinely find them fulfilling and genuinely find them like I'm proud of that shoot. I'm not just doing it for money. You want to build up that audience, that client base that is open to your creativity, that is open to your style of shooting. And I want the exact same for you, getting paid for your creativity. And that is why I created my program in the top link below. Turn your creativity into something profitable. Now, you hear these photographers online that talk about, oh, you can't make money doing creative stuff, you have to be commercialized and corporate, and you have to shoot like this and not like this. That's bullshit, complete bullshit. Making money from your creativity requires very specific action steps that I teach you in the course. There's already people on the program that are making progress and seeing results. Like, they are literally getting hired by clothing brands and from individuals or entrepreneurs or anything like that want photos taken of them, but they are creative photos. The course is for everyone, by the way. You don't have to be a complete beginner, but you could also be an intermediate. Maybe you've landed a few clients in the past, you've been doing this for a few years, but you want to make this your full-time career. There's actually someone on my program right now who is in that exact position, who joined a few months ago, been doing photography for like 5 years, doing all this type of stuff, wasn't really making much financial progress, but then as soon as they joined the program, they're already landing jobs with clothing brands. They're cleaning up their portfolio, learning how to make work that will attract those clients. networking, learning how to price themselves correctly so they don't undercharge or they don't overcharge where clients won't want to work with them. They're finally learning about the business side of their photography, because you can't just be a creative photographer for the sake of it. You need to learn the business side of things, and I teach that all in the program. So if you want to check it out and turn your dream into a reality, turn this into your full-time career, click the top link below to check it out. Step 2, specify your end goal. Like obviously, like I just mentioned earlier, it isn't simply about being creative for the sake of being creative. You need to find a consistent and unique style that will make your portfolio into a client magnet, rather than just a mess of a portfolio that doesn't even look professional. So what do I mean by specifying your end goal? Well, you need to figure out what you want to be doing in the future as a portrait photographer. Specifically, what is your dream shoot? Like really think about that dream job, that dream shoot that you want to get booked for someday. Think about the types of client would it, what specific client would it be? What is the lighting on that shoot? Like really don't specify, like visualize it, but like, okay, it's gonna be this lighting, this brand, this type of model, this sort of concept, whatever it is. And yeah, if you're gonna ask me what my dream shoot is, it's sportswear, it's streetwear, urban culture, it's a studio shoot, like my type of lighting that I use right now, some cool like handcrafted created backdrop, something really like different and unique. And once you've broadly found that dream shoot or that dream client that you want to work for someday, align your current work to that dream shoot. So for me, because I align all my portfolio building shoots and all my client work to that end goal, I landed a job with a sportswear brand the other week. I actually did it was like a run club and they do clothing, and we was in a studio. I had my type of lighting. It was a black backdrop. I'll probably put the photos on the screen if I'm allowed to show them just yet. I don't know if the campaign's out yet, but I'll put the BTS at least. You can see how it aligns to my style of shooting because I'm creating portfolio work that would attract those types of clients. So what I'm trying to say is just aim big, aim as big as possible right now. Because I remember I was reading this business book like a couple of years back, and there's a specific chapter in that book that resonated with me a lot, and it was called The Good Isn't Good Enough Principle. What it essentially is like a bell curve on a graph, and the bottom part of the graph is like your expectations as like in your business and life, whatever it is. So in this case, it's photography. So your biggest expectation of what you want to get to is at the end of that bell curve. So let's say for you, it's probably just a good result. Oh, I want to work for local small clothing brands or something like that in my city or my area. That is like a good result. That's like an okay result. So if you know how a bell curve works, it goes up, it peaks in the middle and goes down at the bottom. So what's in the middle is mediocre. So if your end result is good, your middle result is like mediocre, it's kind of okay, it's maybe even poor results, and that is what your most likely outcome. But if your end expectation and your goals is excellence or perfection, then you're way more likely to achieve the good results. So you can see how the probability of your results really just determines your expectations, because if you aim for excellence, so let's say excellence is like working for Nike, you're way more likely to get the smaller brands. You're way more likely to get that because you're not putting them on a pedestal. But when your end result is working for these small local brands, there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, but having that as the end goal of your career, that's like your peak, you're literally putting that on a pedestal, and you will very unlikely be able to achieve that because you're putting it on a pedestal. And what is in the middle, it's okay results. It's decent, it's mediocre, and that's not gonna really take you that far. So if you aim for good, if you aim for excellence, so let's say it is Nike or Adidas or New Balance or Vogue or whatever it is, let's say you're aiming for Nike, you're more likely to then book a shoot with a smaller streetwear brand, which could eventually build up to working for Nike someday. Let's say for magazines, you want to aim for Vogue to work in Vogue, so you're most likely going to be able to book in a shoot with a smaller magazine, which will then eventually build up to Vogue someday. I just don't want you to limit yourself in your beliefs. I don't want you to think that, oh, shooting for Adidas or Nike or Vogue is like impossible, just like photographer one at the very start of the video. They have limiting beliefs. They're like, how can I do that? Only 0.01% of photographers work for big brands and become successful. You're really going to limit yourself to a statistic. Are you really going to limit yourself to a percentage number? The reason why most photographers don't get to that level is because most photographers don't know what it takes to get there. They don't even try to get there. They think like that of like, oh, there's a 0.01% chance of me getting there, so I can't do it, and they don't even try. That is why they don't get to that level. That doesn't mean there's a 0.01% chance of you getting into Vogue. It just means that 0.01% of photographers actually tried and succeeded to get into Vogue. If you put in the right action steps and you actually take this seriously and truly want to work for those brands and magazines for someday, you will get there. It's the same thing in general in the world when it's like you hear the statistic of like only 0.1% or 1% of people in the world are millionaires or something like that. And you think you might get discouraged by that and think, well, how I will never become a millionaire because there's a 1% chance or a 0.1% chance of me getting there. When it's like, no, the reason why only 1% of the world are millionaires is because 99% of people don't even try to become millionaires. You look at their lifestyles, look at what they do in life, they don't even put in the work. So obviously they aren't going to become millionaires. That doesn't mean that you can't become a millionaire just because you didn't, because there's like a 1% chance of becoming a millionaire. Like there isn't a 1% chance of becoming a millionaire. Only 1% of people are millionaires. Only 1% of people actually try to become millionaires. It's the same with your photography. Only 1% of photographers try to get into Vogue, try to get into Nike. So why not try to increase your chances substantially? Because most photographers don't think on that level. Most photographers don't think on that level of like, I could work for Nike someday or whatever like that. You should. I know that I'll work for those big brands someday. I know I can. And that is the reason why right now I'm landing jobs with smaller clothing brands. But if I put the smaller clothing brands on the pedestal of like, that's my end goal, I want to do that in the future, I would still be in a shit position right now. But because I have the Nike as the end goal, I'm way more likely to get those smaller jobs with the clothing brands right now. And by the way, it doesn't mean they're small. It doesn't mean like, oh, these jobs are shit, because they're still very well paid and it's better than nothing in my opinion. So yeah, what I'm basically trying to say is just like aim for the stars. Like I know it sounds kind of cringe, but like aim as high as possible as a photographer. And that's also one of the things I teach in my program. There's a mindset module in there that looks to just completely shift your mindset into how you should approach your business, how you can make more results simply from a psychological change. So yeah, click the top link below if you want to check that program out. Step 3, take your portfolio building shoots seriously. Treat them like paid shoots, because the way that you're approaching your personal projects right now is quite frankly pathetic. There's not much planning involved. It's a lot of winging it. It's like, okay, come up in this outfit. Maybe we'll go this location. There's no shot list. You have no idea what the lighting's going to be or whatever you're going to do. And it's not very well planned. And that is why the photos don't turn out the best they could be. But you can imagine if you did that same thing with a client on a paid shoot, they would hate that. They would not want you to go into a shoot that unprepared. You wouldn't do that on a paid shoot, so why are you doing it on a free shoot? Because in the beginning and even later on in your career, your portfolio building shoots are going to be the sole reason why you land the paid shoot. So obviously you need to start by taking them seriously. And in order to create your best work, you need to do genius shoots. This is where you plan, budget, and source a team for that shoot. Planning a photo shoot, you're not just making a little shitty mood board of like, oh, this is what I'm going for, a little general mood board of a clutter of random fucking images, right? It's a full-on treatment. You've got a styling plan, a lighting plan, what is the casting direction, like what type of model that I'm going to use, the locations, the set design, the color palette, the makeup, the shot list, like poses that you're going to do, etc. Even going down to the concept, the themes that you're going to explore within the shoots. Next up, budgeting the photo shoot. Budgeting the photo shoot is where you put money towards the photo shoot. It's really that simple. Like, you just being willing to put some money towards the photo shoot if it's needed, of course. So then you don't feel limited with the certain concepts that you want to explore. So you can't be like, oh, I can't do that shoot idea because it requires me to spend $50 on this outfit or this studio or whatever it is. Like, don't feel like you can't put money towards your shoots. And then lastly, sourcing a team. So sourcing a team for your photo shoots, self-explanatory. You source a team, you get a makeup artist, you get a stylist, you get an assistant or something like that. Just someone to help you out with these other factors, help you out with the styling, get professional makeup, help out with setting up lights to get a better lighting setup or just to be more efficient on set. This will help you create professional looking work at that high quality. You don't want to be able to differentiate your personal projects to your clients' paid projects. They want to almost merge in together where like they're both as good as each other, because that's what clients want to see. They don't really care if it was a personal project. They don't really care. They're not going to go, oh, the photo shoot was shit, but it was only a personal project, so no, they're not going to give a shit. They're going to look at the work and think, is it good, is it bad? So you need to make sure every piece of work that you create looks professional. And doing Genius Shoots is going to help you out there. And because I approach my photo shoots in that exact same way, I take into consideration every aspect of my photo shoot. I take all my portfolio building shoots seriously. I'm able to attract and land higher quality clients because my work is high quality. So clients that want high quality work are willing to pay a lot more. And also too, you gain experience with working on a serious and professional set without even having to get those paid shoots. Like, I've been on professional projects like with clients where it doesn't really feel much different to my personal projects. Like my personal projects are taken as seriously, have as big of a team, maybe even the budget's similar as well. And so when I'm doing the client shoots, I don't feel overwhelmed. I'm not like, oh my God, there's so many people on set right now. Oh, there's so many cool lights and I don't know how to use them. And this is super high budget and I'm nervous and I don't know what to do. As a stylist and a makeup artist, I don't know what to do. Like, no, because if you do it on your personal projects, well, it's nothing different. It's like, oh, you go into a paid shoot. It's like, it's probably, sometimes your personal projects will be even more serious and professional than your paid shoots. So you're like, yeah, I'm used to this. I'm used to working with a team, with a gaffer, with a makeup artist, with a stylist. I know how to communicate with a professional model, because you take your portfolio free shoots seriously and you create amazing work. If you want to learn the in-depth steps to turning this into your full-time career, land your next paid gig, and get paid for your creativity, my course in the top link below, that is going to help you turn that into a reality. Learn about how to price yourself. So don't undercharge or don't overcharge where clients won't even want to work with you. Make networking with potential clients and creatives much easier. So like I mentioned earlier, when I talked about Genius Shoots and I talked about sourcing a team, you're probably thinking like, how am I going to source a team? How can I get a makeup artist and for that? It's actually much easier to find and network and connect with those types of people. I remember one of the photographers on my program, he had a shoot in Toronto. He isn't really a photographer in Toronto. He's from a completely different city in Canada. And he literally found a makeup artist and a stylist and a professional model from a completely different city, because of the knowledge that I gave him in the program. So when you find the right team, you're able to create your perfect portfolio. You're able to create that professional looking portfolio that clients cannot resist, and they're just gonna have to hire you. The course is for everyone, by the way. You don't have to be a complete beginner who's never landed a client before. You could also be someone who's been doing this for a few years, but you haven't really seen much success from it, and you don't really know how to turn this into a consistent and full-time thing. I teach you how to do that. Also, if you're more advanced in a different genre, so maybe you did sports photography and you want to get into portraits, I'll teach you how you can make that transition into portrait photography, how to build up your portfolio from the ground up, what you need to do to develop your technical skills and your creative skills to land jobs that clients will actually be open to your unique messaging and unique style. There's already people on the program that are making serious results and are booking paid shoots. There's people on the program landing clothing brand shoots. There's people on the program just landing jobs with just individuals and models and entrepreneurs that want creative headshots or want creative photos of them. But that's the best of all thing too. I'm not just teaching you how to make money as a portrait photographer, but I'm teaching you how you can be creative, be the photographer you've always wanted to be while getting paid to do so. Because I do that, I'm able to land these jobs with clothing brands and clients that want my creativity. So I want to teach the same thing, not just simply how to make money, but how to make money in the way you actually want to make money. So if you want to turn that dream into a reality, click the top link below, check out the program if you're interested. But yeah, that's it for the video though. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, click on this video right here to learn more about portrait photography, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.